The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here at FRC Media. It's another election season. We have them every year here in Massachusetts. This year it's the state election. And when we have the opportunity, we like to speak to as many candidates on the ballot, be they either state positions or regional positions. One of those sort of regional positions is up today. We're going to be talking about the race for county commissioner. There are 3 candidates on the ballot. 2 of the 3 will be elected to a 4-year term. I'm pleased to be joined by one of the incumbents running this year. You may know him as a former mayor of Fall River as well, John Mitchell. Mayor, how are you?
Keith, good to see you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this, particularly in an election season, so thanks.
Yeah, no worries. So, I mean, you've been a commissioner now for, what, 3 terms, right? 3 4-year terms?
3 terms, yes. I was appointed for roughly a year, and then I've been reelected 3 times, and this would be a 4th time, so.
You know, we actually had a conversation earlier this year about county government, and I actually want to kind of use that again as part of this interview. You know, I guess the first question is, what does the county commissioner do? Now, they oversee government basically in Bristol County, right?
Correct. That's kind of my theme on our Facebook website, leaflets, all our advertising is just what does a county commissioner do? And the reason we're bringing it up, because I think like in the past, the county commission has done a lot over the last decade, particularly the last 6-7 years. Traditionally, what the county commission does is it oversees county buildings. So in Fall River, that would be the Registry of Deeds on North Main Street, where the Children's Museum is too. There used to be a court there. We used to oversee on Rock Street the Fall River District Court, which is closed and which we sold, and it's now Recreation uses it. In Taunton, we have the Superior Court. In New Bedford, we have Superior District. We have registries. We also, 3 commissioners, and we each serve as a trustee of the Bristol County Agricultural High School. And the Aggies are a big deal. It's roughly half of our budget. There's a board of 7 trustees, 4 appointed by the governor, 3 of the commissioners. Work very well together. I think they're, just like with the commission, buildings and the commission authority, we've done a lot in the last few years. Up at the Aggie, we just completed a $110 million, not only expansion, but renovation. We built 4 new buildings. We renovated 3, including the main building, Gilbert Hall. If you've been up there, that's the big brick building on the south side of campus. Went down to the, studs and walls and redid everything. So that's essentially, we have a staff like everyone else. We have probably now almost 200, a little more employees. So, you've got all those employment issues that come up and just managing the budget and that. But I think we've done well over the last 10 or 11 years, and we have increased what we do. Particularly, we got federal COVID money, what they call ARPA. And the county got roughly $111 million, and most of that has gone out to the cities and towns. For instance, Fall River, I believe, got another $30 million from us. They got 67 directly, and we allocated the 32 and oversaw with the work of the city and the officials what that 32 was used for. But the county held about $10 million for our own buildings and other uses. So we've made good use of that. And again, our county budget, aside from the school, is only about $15 million. We only have a small staff. So ARPA, we contracted with other counties, different accounting firms to oversee it. And it's gone well. It's allowed us to fix up our buildings considerably.
Yeah. Let me ask you, as a commissioner, obviously the commission oversees, I believe there's 20 cities and towns in Bristol County?
There are 4 cities, 16 towns.
And, obviously in your role as mayor, when you were mayor here, 30-ish?
Roughly 30.
Ish, years ago. Obviously you were one of the, leader of one of the 4 cities, and the demographics here, just the operations here is a lot different from the towns. I guess, what have you learned in your 12 years about not only, working with cities like Fall River, but also working with smaller towns, which you didn't have to do in some ways as
well? No, in the towns, I think the difference is first, most of them are more collaborative. You know, in the cities you have a mayor, and a mayor's got to work with the council and that, but on most of the issues we deal with, it's pretty much the mayor deciding. In the towns, it's, you know, usually boards of 3 or 5, and sometimes the selectmen don't have jurisdiction. A lot of times, particularly at the school and with our buildings, we're building with building inspectors, health departments, conservation commissions, and there's not that same central control you get in the city. I mean, if you're going to deal with Fall River, New Bedford, Taunton, Attleboro, Board of Health, you're also dealing with the mayor's office, particularly on another public institution. But with the towns, a lot of times the selectmen are hands-off and you're dealing with an entirely different board. Also a much bigger impact what we do. You know, if we increase tuition, when we built the new buildings, there's an assessment with it. And got widespread support and passed overwhelmingly favorably at the meeting of what's called the advisory board, which are the representatives from each of the cities or towns. But at the same time, you know, it does have more of a impact on a smaller budget, particularly because some of the towns like Dayton, Westport, they have a larger number of students than some of the bigger communities because, well, Dayton's immediate, it's a local school, and you know, Westport, it's a farming community. So you see Rehoboth, Sincock to an extent. So for their size, they're sending probably more students than the cities are, proportionately.
Something that may be important for people to know is, you know, they hear about Bristol County Commission, Bristol County government, and it's sort of like oversees the county government. But people may also hear, well, there's a Bristol County District Attorney. But the commission has nothing to do with...
We don't have anything to do with the county-wide offices anymore. Until, I believe, 2009, 2010, the commission did oversee the sheriff's office. It approved its budget. It improved employment in the sense, you know, you review it. There was a lot of independence with the sheriff. But beginning, I believe it was 2010, just before I got on, the Sheriff's Department became a state agency, and it's funded through the state and overseen by the state. And I guess years ago, talking to people, I think the probate court, not the judges, but you know, the registry and what it did, that was a county office. As far as I know, I think the district attorneys were always independent and separately elected. But that's one of the unique things about county government, I guess showing its age, but you have a whole group of elected officials who we oversee. So we got a county treasurer, and we approve a lot of what his office does, hirings, budget. But at the same time, he does all the financial end of it. And then in Bristol, you have 3 registries, Fall River, Taunton, and New Bedford, and we oversee them to an extent. But again, they're separately elected officials. So, you know, we defer to them on their employment decisions, how they run their operations, but we do have oversight. We set their budget, and it works out. You know, if you thought there was a total 7 different people looking at similar functions and issues, and one having the power override the others, it'd be a mess. But it hasn't. Everyone's worked pretty well together.
And even though the commission oversees a lot of the courthouse buildings in Bristol County, not the operations, correct?
No. What goes on in the courthouse is, it's really mass trial court. It's a Commonwealth, a state undertaking. And I mean, we also rent to the mass trial court. So we deal with their building division all the time. We occasionally deal with like a regional judge or a chief judge because they'll have some questions. They need a courthouse. For instance, they weren't using Taunton Superior, which is right on the green there, very often. But, you know, they now use it year-round. But before that, the judges, the chief judge, and came down the administrators to make sure the facilities are not. So
and the seat of county government is actually in Taunton.
Taunton is the county seat. It's the oldest of the cities and towns. You know, it goes back to the Constitutional Convention and that. So it is the county seat. We tend to meet there. We almost always meet there, in the Superior Court building where our offices are. But it's no longer, you know, the largest city. New Bedford and Fall River have outgrown it. So the center of population is more down towards the south end of the county. But yeah, Taunton's the center, and that's where our offices are in the treasurer's office.
One thing I meant to ask you, even the first time we talked, is the office of County Commissioner is a part-time
It is.
position.
It's a part-time position. Again, I mean, you know, if you talk to people from other states where the county is the municipal government, last night on TV there was something happened in Maryland, and it was from the Montgomery County Police Department, and that's a huge. Montgomery County's
Just outside
bigger,
of D.C.
yeah, and it's bigger than Baltimore. It has more population, but it was one of the towns. I don't know if it was Lando. It was one of the towns that it actually occurred in, which itself is a big, you know, probably 80,000 people. But everything's run county. There's one police force, one fire department, overall one health agency. It's not like that in Massachusetts. Every city and town has its own series of municipal positions. And with a lot of talk of regionalization, but when it comes to it, no one wants to give up their local board. We do assist with certain things that might be a little more technical, but overall, you know, it's the tradition here.
Right. Does the county have an administrator?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah. Maria Gomes has been our administrator for, I guess, 6-7 years. She's from Taunton, extensive municipal experience. She's helped us tremendously. She's very tied in with Mass Municipal Association, other people, saved tremendously on our health insurance. While everyone else was going up, we managed to get someone to come in, help us with it. And we are actually 5 years later, still not paying monthly what we paid 5 or 6 years ago. And it shows in, you know, the premiums people are paying who are on our health insurance and other things. She's just very capable. It's worked well.
Yeah. Let me ask you, running for re-election, what are you telling people out there in terms of why they should consider you for
one of the
term?
things I do ask people to consider is we've got a lot that we've done the last few years that's not completed, coming to completion. So for instance, the COVID ARPA money, the deadline is actually next Monday for applicants. Everything has to be committed by December 31st of this year. You have 2 more years to expend it through 2026. And it's not so much overseeing the cities and towns, it's our projects. We're doing a lot. In New Bedford, we're using a good portion of that money, and some money the county's put aside from its budget to fix up the Superior Court on County Street where Lizzie Borden was tried. There's a cupola there that's a beautiful portion of the building, but it's fallen apart, so we're replacing it. We're using some of the original material, but we're going to upgrade that and the facade, the columns. In Taunton, we're redoing the roof. It's a copper roof. It's beautiful, but I guess rubber would be less expensive than copper, but we're going with the copper, and again, largely through ARPA, other funding. We've been lucky with some of the windstorms. We've been able to replace some of the roof here and there. But the other thing we're doing in Taunton is there was always what they call the torch or the flame that mounted the, I guess for want of a better word, the steeple on the top of the courthouse where actually there's family of falcons nesting now. But on top of that, we're going to put the torch, which is, you know, a considerable topping to it. And that's been down for, I guess, 15 years or so. And Senator Mark Pacheco got some state money. We're using the federal money and some of our own money. And, you know, the copper roof will be fixed. And we're slowly but surely doing the interior of that building. You know, not only, most of the ARPA money we use for heating, ventilating, that type of thing. But the state's supposed to help out with the rotunda and some of the courtroom work that's been there. So I'd like to see that to completion. And then the other thing, the school building's done. This is the first year we have the full enrollment of 650. We went from like 430 to 650. And that was the reason we built, is we turn down even now about 400 students, 8th graders every year, because you can only take so many. It's competitive. The students we're turning down before the adjustment, the increase in enrollment, we're pretty much interchangeable with the students we were taking. So the building's done, but what's being done now is we're adjusting the budget because our costs have increased. It's a much bigger staff. Energy costs, despite these buildings won 7 different regional and national architectural awards, including a national one where we beat out, we finished second, I think, in our category, but we beat out buildings from Boston itself, universities, and other, pretty grand architectural projects.
Yeah.
So the buildings themselves have cost a little bit more.
And from what I understand, this is only one of 2, I believe, public agricultural schools still in Massachusetts?
Yeah, the other is in Norfolk.
Right.
It's in Walpole.
So students don't just come from Bristol County?
No, we draw a lot from, I call it the Cranberry, Carver, Middleborough,
Right.
up to Lakeville, down Old Rochester area, Marion, Mattapoisett. So yeah, we're probably about 15, 20% out of county.
Yeah.
And a lot of those are traditional in the sense parents, grandparents have come. They're farming families and they want their students to get that background in their education. So, but that's what I'd like to do is come back and particularly the budget on the school side, because we've handled it and we'll handle it, but there are increased costs because of a higher staff, higher energy costs, just a much bigger facility. But it's a great place. If you get up there, take a look at it. The fall show's coming up in 3 weeks.
There you go.
On the weekend.
Little plug at the
great.
end.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah.
It's a great event, and now it's more coordinated. It used to be buildings scattered.
Right.
Now there's a main plaza that runs from the north to the south end of the campus across Center Street, and everything takes place there.
Yeah.
And you'll see people climbing trees with the arbor department, beautiful displays by the landscaping, floral design. They have a cafe that's just great. The kids do a great job putting on a great cafe. So plan it around lunchtime and you'll enjoy it.
All right, John Mitchell, I
you.
appreciate your time. Good luck in the
And
election.
can I just ask for your vote?
Please.
On November 5th, I'd like to be reelected as your county commissioner. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And thank you for joining us here at FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. And please make a point to vote on November 5th.